Yo, it's Daryl D. Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of my Richard Corben comic book collection. Yes, if you've seen part 1, then you know that Richard Corben is my favorite comic book artist, and I am on a mission to buy his entire bibliography, if you will. I want every comic book that Richard drew, starting with the actual front to back stories, or if he has a story in a book among other writers and other artists. And after I complete all of those, then I may go for just those where he did the cover art and those comic magazines that he was featured so often in. Books like Rook and Eerie, Creepy, Heavy Metal, Epic, those type of titles. So I'm just going to show you what I've picked up since the last video and share those with you. And this will probably be number 2 of maybe, I don't know, it could be 5-10 different episodes just on me gathering all of these Richard Corben comics. So all right, let's get right into it. I just picked up issues 3 and 4 of Slow Death. I seem to see 3 and 4 quite often, more so than I do any of the other issues in Slow Death. Now, Corben didn't do every issue of Slow Death, but he certainly have a number of them under his belt. If my memory serves me correct, I believe there was only 11 issues of this book in, wow, I think it was like a 14-year span. You know, I think it started in the 70s, and I think the last issue came out in early 90s, 91 or 93, somewhere in there. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong. But these two seem to pop up quite often, more so than some of the other ones. Slow Death has been described as an ecological underground comic. A lot of the stories have to deal with the Earth or space, the destruction of the Earth, the taking over the Earth, crazy stories about the Earth coming to an end, or the people somehow coming to an end, or the people being taken over by aliens or monsters or mutations and whatnot. These have multiple stories in there, so it's not like Corben is front to back in these issues. I believe these issues have, I did read this number 3, this one, and I believe this one had 4 different stories in it. So they have multiple stories. So again, it's not Richard Corben, his art or writing throughout the entire issue. Because this was an underground comic, you couldn't really pick these up in comic book shops. You had to pick them up in more adult-oriented stores. I was recently told that these were sold in a lot of head shops, they call them now. So, of course, I didn't see these as a kid at all. And you quite often don't find them very often, even these days, in comic book shops. They just don't pop up a whole lot. Usually you find people selling their personal copies. And these comic books that I'm going to be showing you, I haven't read any of them except this one right here. So I can't tell you a whole lot about what goes on inside of them as far as going into details about the actual stories. But I'd like to share them with you nonetheless. So there you have it. Slow Death number 3 and 4 are the first ones I want to share with you guys. Next off, we have a Dark Horse comic. This is Hellboy in Mexico. I never got into the Hellboy character ever. I think I recently saw the movie maybe 3-4 years ago, which it was okay. I should go back and watch it again. But apparently Corben did a handful of these Hellboy stories, and this was one of them. Now, Hellboy Mexico, this was a one-off comic. It was just this one issue, and man, just look at that artwork. Like, man, you just can't go wrong with Corben art, man. It's just the best out there, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to getting the other issues in Hellboy. Now, when I first came across this book, I really wasn't trying to spend a ton of money. Funny story, this book was like 14 bucks, $13.99 I saw it, and I thought, I don't want to pay that for a book. Then I found out that these books were going for between 25 and 60 bucks. So of course, I went back and I picked it up at one of my local comic shops, and I had to pick it up. 13 or 14 bucks compared to 25 to 60. I'll take that all day. So yeah, Hellboy Mexico. Looking forward to reading that. Now, if you watched the last video, I explained how I grabbed, I found issue number 1 of Son of Mutant World, and I was desperate to finish that series. It was, I believe, 5 issues in all, and every time I would come across them, shockingly, number 2 through 5 was always really expensive, a lot more than I wanted to pay. Number 1, shockingly, would be the cheapest. I would see number 1 for anywhere between $3 and $10, but it seemed like 2 through 5 was always considerably a lot more. But I did pick those up, and I want to share those with you right now. So this is Son of Mutant World. This is issue number 2. Then we have issue number 3, Son of Mutant World. Just look at that, man. Here we have number 4 of Son of Mutant World. And then we have number 5 of Son of Mutant World. So I'm extremely happy that I have now completed this run, and I bought all these together at the same time. So that's one complete Corben run marked off of my list. He didn't do a lot of comics that had super long runs. So far, I haven't seen any that was any more than 10 issues. So shouldn't be too hard to track down a lot of these. But Son of Mutant World is definitely, I've definitely been enjoying this one. I read issue 1, and I did read issue number 2. So I still have 3 through 5 to go through, and I'm really looking forward to that. And again, these books there were multiple stories and multiple artists. Another Fangora Press, which was Corben's company. As I was saying, there's multiple stories in here, but Richard Corben is featured in every issue, and he did all of the covers to that entire run. So, Son of Mutant World, check that off my list. I'll keep moving on. Next we have from Vertigo, the Swamp Thing series, and Richard Corben was called in to do issues number 7 and 8. So here we have Swamp Thing. Now this is a later Swamp Thing. This is the Swamp Thing from the 80s, I believe, is when the original Marvel title came out. But this is Swamp Thing number 7, Vertigo Comics. And this was number 8. I dig Swamp Thing. I never really follow Swamp Thing back in the day, but when I would get my hands on one, I would certainly hold on to it. I don't have any interest in getting any more than the ones Corben did. Again, I bought this book strictly for the art, for Corben's art. So I'll hold on to 7 and 8. And I'll keep it moving. Okay, next up on the list, I was glad I finally got this run. If you looked at my last video, I talked about Corben's character Den. Den was a character that Corben created for the heavy metal magazines, and when he started doing the comic books with that character, the first comic book run that he did was called Children of Fire. Children of Fire, yes, is based off of the Den character before Den actually got its own title book, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Children of Fire only had 3 issues. I was happy I was able to buy all 3 at the same time. It's always cheaper that way, because a lot of these I'm buying off a line from different websites. So if I can get a run all at the same time for a decent price, then of course I'm going that route. This is number 1, and this was only a 3-issue series again. This is issue number 2 of Children of Fire. And then we have issue number 3 of Children of Fire. So this is the first solo book for Den as a character after the heavy metal appearances. I haven't taken a look at these, but soon. You know, I'm really looking forward to these as well. Next up, we have from Marvel Comics, we have 2 issues that I know of from the Ghost Rider series that Corben drew. I'm not sure if he did any more than these 2. This is issue number, 7? I believe it was 7 and 8 of this later Ghost Rider series. And I believe this was definitely 2006 is when this book came out. So of those 2 issues, I'm still missing number 8, which I hope to grab soon. But this is issue number 7. Now, I can't sit here and say, even as a kid, I wasn't super into Ghost Rider. I can't tell you a lot about his character because I just didn't follow that book back in the days. But because Corben did a couple issues of this, then you know I'm gonna get familiar with this character, strictly based off of Corben's art. So that's Ghost Rider number 7. Now again, just mentioned Den. This was his own book with his own title book after Children of Fire. Den had a 10-issue run. I'm still missing number 8, but this is number 2. So far I have 1 through 10, with the exception of number 8. But this was right after Children of Fire. And as far as I know, I don't know of any Corben books that had a longer run. I think, actually, I take that back. I think Rip in Time might have had 9 copies, or maybe 12 copies. I'm not sure. But this definitely was a 10-issue run. Number 2, approaching that full run very soon. And the last one I wanted to show you was Den number 3. Now, if you saw the last video, I showed number 3 in that video. But I had to show this one again because I picked up a second copy, and I picked it up in the 25-cent bin. I don't care if I would have had 10 of those. For 25 cents, I'll keep buying them, and I'll keep buying them, and I'll keep buying them. Even if I pass them off as gifts or if I decide to resell. So I just had to give Den number 3 an honorable mention. This is my second copy, 25 cents. I'll take that all day. So there you have it. That's my latest addition to my Richard Corben comic book collection. I hope to be back very soon with video number 3 and show you what I have there. Until then, thank you for watching. This is Daryl D TV. My name is Daryl D, and I'll see you next time. Peace and love.